the thing. Somebody can get better, and somebody can get better right in front of your eyes, and somebody who's a number 1 overall pick in the draft, well, good morning to you. Good Monday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Pirates. It comes your way bright and early every weekday. If you're into football and or hockey, I also offer daily shots of Steelers and Penguins in the same place that you found this. Henry Davis is having himself, and it's early, and it's spring, but one heck of a start to his Grapefruit League schedule so far. He's 5 for 13 with 2 bombs, a walk, a couple of strikeouts, and I was down there for one of those bombs in Sarasota. Came off no less than Corbin Burns, and it traveled. And the one he hit over the weekend in Lakeland really traveled. In fact, it might have traveled from Lakeland to Sarasota. Look on your map of Florida to see how far that would be. He's doing something a little bit different at the plate. It's not radically different, but you can actually see it when he's up, and that's not often the case with changes in batting stances, which can be so subtle. He's down a little bit lower in his stance. His legs are in a power straddle, I guess, if I had to come up with a term for it. If you can picture Mark McGwire's stance at the plate, it's not where the top part of his body is quite that upright, but the bottom is that locked and loaded. And when he digs into the baseball, it's just it's an obliterating torque that goes into it. His teammates have been talking about it down there. His coaches have been talking about it. Derek Shelton's been talking about it. I asked Henry about it. This was his reply.
I think the changes I've made, I'm on the tracks longer. Like I'm through the zone longer, so I can keep accelerating without making a move towards the third base dugout. So just in the best position to make consistent, solid contact in the air.
On the tracks a little longer is a pretty cool bit of wordsmithing there from the young catcher. But here's the thing. Not only is he hitting, and I'll repeat the standard disclaimers, it's early, it's spring, and all that other stuff, but he's catching. And he's catching at a level that, if I'm being completely candid with you here, does not jibe with what management is saying about his receiving skills. And look, no one's going to confuse him with the next Benito Santiago back there. There are things that he's learning. He's continuing to learn. Everyone knew and everyone acknowledged this hasn't been a surprise. Even coming out of college, that he was going to be a project back there. Some described that as more dire than others, but everyone agreed that it wasn't going to be the snap of a finger. What they loved about him is that he's got the 80-grade arm, and he really, really does, as you saw from right field last summer. So they figure, as baseball people tend to do, that they can teach him the teachable parts. Well, the problem with that is, yeah, I know, these are the Pirates, so you can't presume that they can teach anything to anybody. That's not me being cynical, although it sure sounds like it. It's me pointing to voluminous precedent. They just don't make people better. But that doesn't prevent Henry from making himself better. And by every accounting, and from the perspective of people whose professional eyes I trust, Henry's gotten a lot better back there, even since the end of last season. Now, would he have been even better had the Pirates let him catch a bunch of those meaningless September games in 2023, as opposed to treating him as if he had leprosy? Or that, I don't know, they'd get leprosy from watching him catch? Sure, but that would involve some forward thinking. That would involve also having a general manager who doesn't have this wild, borderline irrational fear of anything less than brilliant defensive work behind the plate. Like, look, I can respect that you want somebody back there who knows what he's doing. Everybody benefits, chiefly the pitchers. But, It's okay to have a bat back there, too. And that goes double if you're the same GM who called out Henry Davis's name at 1-1 in the draft. You had to have had something in the back of your head that said, oh no, someday I'm going to have this kid who I think can't catch at my standard catching. Because he's probably not going to be able to play anywhere else. So what do they do in 2023? They put him in right field. Charrington's probably sitting there crossing his fingers going, oh man, I really hope he can just survive out there. And then of course he doesn't survive out there, other than with the arm. And they're stuck back at square one. So Charrington's entering a 2024 season where he's still having to overcome this thing of his. And he can't, so he goes out and get Yasmani Grandal, who's not really a good defensive catcher either, but at least he's old. So he must have some experience and some wisdom that he can impart upon the pitchers and maybe Henry himself. But then, oh man, you can tell I'm into this one. I've been holding this one in ever since I saw and heard some of this stuff last week down there. Then I'm watching Grandal in these spring games, and I'm hearing everybody's just going, oh, this is what a veteran leader. And you watch this guy, he can't set a target. He can't set a target for his pitchers. And yes, I know it's now in vogue for catchers to show the target, to present it, and then put their glove down, because the pitcher is just supposed to freeze frame where that glove was and then throw to where the glove was. Okay, fine. I'll accept that. New age, new information. What I can't accept is that Grandal's glove moves before it goes down. It's a lazy target to the naked, untrained eye like mine. You see one target, and then you see a second target, and then the glove goes down. If you haven't noticed this yourself, any of these games that are on TV when he's catching, tell me that I'm nuts. Because that's all I see when I watch him catch. Whereas when either Henry or Jason DeLay, for that matter, or Ali Sanchez, their projected top AAA catcher, are out there, you see one target, glove down. One target, glove down. So to my, once again, admittedly untrained amateur eyes, it sure seems like Henry's at least holding his own with a guy that he's supposed to be learning from, presumably just because he's old. I'm not wild about this, okay? I'm not in the mindset of thinking that a 1-1 should be opening the season in the minors if he can, A, already hit in the majors, and it's pretty much consensus that he can, and B, if he's at least capable of catching at the same level as the old guy you just signed for no reason. And don't even get me started on Paul Skeens if he pitches well again today. When we come back, J1Q. This portion of Daily Shot of Pirates is brought to you by our friends at North Shore Tavern. That's directly across Federal Street from PNC Park. It's home of Steak on a Stone, an eating experience, underscoring the word experience. The steak is brought to you partially cooked on an 800-degree stone, and you do the rest. It's a ton of fun, it's a great meal, and it's a baseball atmosphere like no other in Pittsburgh. North Shore Tavern, right across Federal Street from PNC Park. Today's J1Q comes from Eric. It might be my favorite question we've had here in a long time. He asks, DK, scanning the market, is there really a viable number 2 starter available through free agency? It sounds like the Jordan Montgomery situation is push and pull between Texas and Boston, and the same goes for Blake Snell, though he doesn't seem to be a realistic option here anyway. The remaining arms are mid-tier, but they all come with asterisks related to health, age, declines. That leaves the trade market. Are the Pirates really ready to start trading away from their minor league system to meet the price of a number 2 starter? Well, I mean, at what point do you make your first I don't even call it a move. How about just dipping the toe in the water of prioritizing the season that's in front of you? This is year 5 for these guys. They can pretend otherwise. They can talk about how the COVID year doesn't count, and they've tried that. But the fact is, and I mean fact, this isn't ripping them. It's not even an opinion. They've not gotten any better in the one place where it really counts, and that's competing within the National League Central Division. They're the same team that they were back at the very beginning when it comes to what actually gets tracked and placed into the standings. It's year 5. You can't keep artificially attempting to buy yourself time and hope that the public is stupid enough to go along with it forever and ever and ever. And when I say the public, I mean me too. Because yeah, I can look at, Henry Davis, who I was just talking about, and Paul Skeens, and even Termarr Johnson is only 19 years old, and I can say, wow, this has really been a big progression from where they were. No, it wasn't. No, it hasn't been. No, it can't be until they bleeping win. They don't have to win a World Series, but how about something close to a winning season? How about something other than just being last or fourth in the Central year after year after year? That is the objective the last time I checked. It might not seem that way when you talk to them or you hear them because they speak of these vague, abstract goals and mile markers that they're passing, and none of that means anything. None of that means anything. So yeah, go ahead. Eric, make your trade. Get your number 2 starter in here. You don't have to go full Chris Archer on the process. You don't have to give up a Termarr. But you've got some guys, some younger guys that other people would be interested in. You've certainly got a couple of arms that people would be interested in. Hint, hint, the Rays, because they could take those arms and turn them into real pitchers, whereas the Pirates can't do that. How about that? How about that? Worried about doing that? Worried about being embarrassed again by Tampa Bay or any other team? Well, part of doing business, right? Make sure you get somebody good in the exchange. It's crazy that we keep having these conversations about if it's okay for them to try to win. At some point, you got to, don't you? Let's do it again tomorrow, everybody. Thanks, Eric, for the cue. It was a good one.